Rise and Shine Rwanda, it's Thursday, the 5th of March.
Coming up on today's Rise and Shine Rwanda.
We strike oil with a report on this year's East African Petroleum Conference.
Fidelis shows us a look at where the movie magic happens.
And speaking of movies, we have this week's new release and cult classic in today's movie review.
Good morning, it's just after 7 o'clock in the morning and you're watching Rise and Shine Rwanda with me, Regis Isheja.
And me, Makeda Mahadio. Over the next hour, we'll be bringing you all the latest news, sports, and lifestyle headlines from here in Rwanda and around the world. And of course, the Rise and Shine team are here with us in studio. What's going on in the wonderful world of sports?
I feel like that came from deep, but we will look ahead to the upcoming matches in Super Rugby. The biggest competition in the world is taking place starting tomorrow, Friday. Then where is Rwanda? Which sports are taking Rwanda to Rio 2016 Olympics? The journey has started.
Okay, Fidelis, what's up in the world of business?
Well, in business, I get to the film industry and I get to see, what happens in it. At the end of this, I think all of you will decide to become actors instead of like TV
There's a lot of movie going on today.
It's possible,
Movies.
it's possible.
Right.
All that and more still to come, but first, Rise and Shine story of the day. Since the discovery of viable oil in East Africa, the region has been at the forefront of an emerging hydrocarbons boom. It is for this reason that meetings continue to be held in the East African community to discuss the various ways to promote, exploit, and benefit from this growing sector. Fidelis attended the ongoing Petroleum Conference to get the scoop on what's happening. Take a look.
The East African Petroleum Conference and Exhibition is the first of its kind to be held here in Rwanda. With over 500 people in attendance, including representatives of the ESC member states, mining and petroleum experts, as well as investors.
The theme of this conference, proven destination for investment in petroleum resources, for regional energy sufficiency and lasting socio-economic development, is geared towards attracting capital investments required to explore and develop petroleum resources of our partner states in a sustainable manner. It encapsulates the imperative for regional energy security, as well as the need for this valuable resource to be mobilized for the socio-economic development of East Africa.
But what does this mean for the Rwandan people? Mr. Michael explains.
For the conference to come here, the Rwandans will be educated about actually what is happening in the rest of the region, and which, in a way, is also of interest to them. Because there is now a strategy even of countries to share the resources they have. Secondly, it's for the Rwandans to know that actually there is even potential for petroleum exploration in Rwanda. We haven't discovered any petroleum yet, but we've already started exploration for petroleum. So it's important for Rwandans to know that this resource is not exotic. It can also be in Rwanda.
The discovery of oil reserves means there'll be less need to import oil into the region, and that the ESC can now afford to export oil into other regions, thus increasing its amount of foreign exchange. Despite this, experts say that they will not see benefits of these discoveries until challenges like corruption are done with. So what can be done?
We have a policy that governs the management of your resources, like Uganda has. And then that policy has a law, it's backed up by a legal regime. That legal regime creates institutions that manage the business. I think, therefore, then you will be minimizing issues of corruption. And then the next stage, as I said, is to separate responsibilities. In Uganda, we have separated responsibilities. The ministry in charge of oil and gas, its business is only to set policies and license. But after that, we have got a regulatory body that monitors compliance. And from there, we have got a national oil company that will deal with the commercial business. So separation of responsibilities is important in order to deal with issues of corruption. Therefore, strengthening governance, having clear policies is important. Having a legal regime that defines the rules is an important element.
Here's the hope that the coming together of like-minded individuals in the petroleum industry will attract more investors in Rwanda and the region as a whole. Kangwa Fidelis, Rise and Shine Rwanda.
And now we're back in studio with, of course, Arnold and Fidelis, who actually attended the conference. Now, tell me, one thing that I was thinking when I was watching this video and learning about, what's happening at the petroleum conference and stuff like that, is, when it comes to oil, how can we have gone so long not knowing that we perhaps could be sitting on some oil here?
I think it comes from the lack of exploration to it. Oil exploration in Rwanda actually started in 2007 to try and look for oil fields. They say they haven't discovered them, but when you look at the moves being made in Parliament, maybe we may feel as citizens something is not being told to us early enough, because the Parliament is trying to pass a new oil law that sets to divide Rwanda into five different sectors, depending on the oil location. A Canadian company had earlier, it pulled out late last year, had come because of the agreement, it had come to explore oil, and what it was saying that if it discovers oil reserves in Rwanda, it has to take 80% of the revenue collected. Now the government rejected that, and again that's very good because that's natural. You have to protect our resources. But this year alone, recently, about 3 German companies, when the German foreign minister was here, recently said they have interests in exploring oil resources in Rwanda, and it's believed Rwanda and Burundi, going by what Minister Vincent Biruta said, Rwanda and Burundi are likely to have oil reserves, and that comes because we are on what they call the Albertine region, and that's the same region that has Lake Albert, which where Uganda gets its oil, and it has Lake Kivu and the whole Rift Valley province. So we're on the northern arm of the Rift Valley, and it's highly likely, 90% likely, that Rwanda has oil.
To add to what Arnold just said, I completely agree with what he said, because even in the exhibition while I was there, there's so many companies that do more of exploiting to try and see if there's any oil in that particular country, and most of them were the ones that were there exhibiting their products and what they do, and these are the same countries that did it for Uganda and did it for Kenya, and we're hoping that these countries also do the same for Rwanda and Burundi, since they're the ones that joined the East African community of recent, and we'll hopefully find the oil in these countries. So we are up for like a lot of benefits for being in this community.
Now, Arnold, to the everyday Rwandan that's watching us, Equatorial Guinea, Sudan, Nigeria, Angola, these are countries with a lot of petroleum. But now, if we were to have a lot of petroleum, like you're telling us with Lake Albert, Lake Kivu, and all the other oil they could find in Rwanda, petroleum they could find in Rwanda, tell the everyday Rwandan that's watching us what that could amount to for the country.
It would amount for some. First of all, the countries you've given us haven't handled their oil situation well. Even the permanent secretary of the Ministry of Uganda was talking about how they have fought this corruption and everything. Not all is going well in the Bunyoro region of Uganda when it comes to oil. But Africa also has some good examples, the likes of Ghana. Ghana's economy, after they discovered oil, was Africa's fastest growing economy for a very long period. In fact, for the past decade, before Rwanda and Angola. Angola right now, despite it being a very expensive country to live in, they have the money to live in. That's why they were able to host the Africa Cup of Nations, because they have this oil money. So it's about the leadership and how you handle the leadership. And with our leaders being able to protect us early from exploiters, then I think the money will be channeled back to the normal citizen, and that's through jobs, employment from the oil companies, through taxes being reduced, and that's more income being generated for the average Rwandan citizen.
Now, do you think that this could be a double-edged sword, or do you think that there could be any risk involved? Because you just mentioned the Canadian company that ended up pulling out, and I think if this offer comes around, a lot of people are going to want to have, if not a similar deal, something where they're going to properly benefit from it. And we see a lot of conflict in a lot of different countries because of this. Could we be, perhaps risking, I know that our leader is, he's not going to let anything happen, but...
Just to add to what Makeda is saying, like, for example, you take Gabon, you take Brazzaville, Congo-Brazzaville, they have a lot of oil, but that's been the reason why France keeps going there, because they know how much they can take from there, and it's, led to a lot of problems.
I think Rwanda has been a very different example to Africa, that we are not controlled by what the West do, especially under the current leadership that is in the country. About it being a double-edged sword, I don't think so yet, because again, it all goes down to how you handle the resources you have. Now, just with the small coltan that we had and the tantine that we had in Rwanda, we were able to handle that so well, and we are the biggest producer of coltan right now to the world, and that's again down to the leadership. So with the oil, I think these resources will be handled amicably well. Again, my biggest question is to the leaders. It will be that, do they know about these discoveries way before? Because when that Canadian company pulled out, or as of now, 6 Canadian companies have applied for oil exploration agreements with the Rwanda Development
Well,
Board.
they're going to go down from 80 to 60%. What's good?
No, I think for me the best way to tackle this problem is for more Rwandan people to just study these things in school, and this way we don't have to depend on other companies or to come into Rwanda to do it for us, and this way we exploit the idea of us just doing it on our own. It's just I feel like it's the best way, and we can maximize on this and get the best out of it.
I concur with her, oil exploration, but it's tricky with oil, again, when it comes to the capacity building of oil, because oil is a field that needs a professional for everything.
You don't think we can get professionals here?
No, we can, but it's going to take it's going to take some time. It's not going to take 5 years, 10 years. It's going to get to that capacity building, because even Nigeria, which is Africa's sub-Saharan Africa's biggest oil exporter, doesn't have yet enough professionals for its oil industry.
Right.
So it takes really some good time.
Well, something to think about there. Thank you guys so much for joining us. And don't forget, you are watching Rise and Shine Rwanda. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Want to have a house like this? Come to the Rwanda Property Forum the 5th, 6th, and 7th of March, this Thursday, Friday, and Saturday at Lemigo Hotel. Come learn about selling, buying, and building houses. You do not want to miss this. Friday and Saturday, we're offering educational sessions so you can learn how to get involved in this profitable industry. Learn about buying, building, and selling real estate in Rwanda. This event is free and sponsored by these great companies. Come join us this weekend. Welcome back to Rise and Shine Rwanda. Time now for business news. Fidelis Karangwa has the details.
Business stories making headlines today. 2 Indian firms have registered in Rwanda and plan to invest $2.25 million in the agricultural sector and health sectors over the next 3 to 5 years. The Mumbai-based Life Care Diagnostics and Research Center will set up a $2 million health facility in Kigali, which will diagnose various diseases. Argent Beeswax Industries also expressed interest in investing in Rwanda last year and said they would open up a $250,000 venture in the country. The firm manufactures pharmaceuticals and cosmetic products like honey and beeswax, among other products. Haruki Imanzi Cooperative has donated hybrid cows worth 5 million Rwandan francs to 20 disadvantaged residents in Chirit village in Huye district. Officials say that donation supports government initiatives like the One Cow per Poor Family program and will provide the beneficiaries with a sustainable source of income to improve their livelihoods. They also urge farmers to embrace modern farming methods to increase agro-productivity and household income. The first beneficiaries of the cows will pass on offsprings of the cows to other vulnerable members in the community, as the government targets to provide dairy cows to 350,000 families. Now, many international productions have been filmed here in Rwanda, and actors including Danny Glover, Clive Owen, and J.O. Sanders worked on productions in Rwanda and support the local film industry. But what do we really know about the film industry here? Well, for most people, almost nothing. So I took it upon myself to find out everything that you need to know. Check it out.
Nitwa Kamana Patrick. Iyi ni imva yanjye. Kuva ndi umwana nanga karengane nkunda umutuzo. Nakuriye mu cyaro cya Kure.
From romance to thriller movies, you name it and you can now find it on the Rwandan scene. This has been amplified by the growing numbers of movie producers, directors, as well as actors who have invested their time and money in this growing industry. So how do the local people feel about this industry?
Right now, what I can say is that it's moving on because many young people are getting those skills. They are learning from those who have been in the industry. They are learning, and there are many who love that industry. Some love to act, and others love to edit or sound or camera work. So for me, I think that we are moving forward, and the Rwandan films will reach far.
These movies, which have appeared in film festivals in Asia and Europe, are produced through many struggles, some of them being the shortage of good post-production services and lack of good screenwriters in Rwanda. Despite this, however, Musafir, a local filmmaker, says it's a good career to take on.
Filmmaking is actually, I would say that it's a good career. It's a career that can, that you can work on and you can get something really good, and you can benefit from, for your family and everyone else who surrounds you.
For Sample Studios, a new company that produces audiovisual material, business has slowly been picking up pace as more people have been seeking their services in making promotional videos for their businesses. This being a new trend, one would think it is expensive to use. But is that the case?
Well, I would say it's both. It might be affordable, it might be expensive. It depends with the tools first you use. The tools you use in this world, the tools are different. So it depends with the tools you choose to use to put into that business. But for me, I do agree that it's affordable.
As more people enter this industry, the world should be on the lookout for classic movies like Titanic and Seven, filmed and produced right here in the land of a thousand hills. Karangwa Fidelis, Rise and Shine Rwanda.
And joining us in studio is Richard Mugwaneza, the owner of Sample Studios. Welcome, Richard, to the show.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah. So you started this post-production company, you said last year, yeah? So why did you decide to get into this business? I mean, movies are not yet a big thing, a big hit like the way they are maybe in America or even in Nigeria, since the Nigerian movie industry has really picked up pace. So why did you decide to get into it as a business?
Well, we first need to tell our stories. It's important for us, for Rwandese, to showcase what's happening in Rwanda and visually as the world does. So the main fact that pushed me to that is to make Rwanda, to brand Rwanda into movies.
Mm-hmm. So you, we were discussing earlier, and you told me that for most, although as much as you focus mostly on post-production, you find yourself in most cases having to do everything. When a customer comes to you and they tell you they want help with their movies, you in most cases find yourself having to go and film the movie yourself, and even sometimes invest your own money in order for the movie to have a bit of, good quality. So tell us a bit about that, some of these challenges that you actually faced in this industry.
Well, for the moment, it's really hard to focus. For us, we would like more to focus on post-production, as we have those strengths in post. But as the industry, the scene is now birthing, it's still a baby, so it's hard to focus and succeed focusing. It will come by time, because people come to you not just to edit or make sound correction or color. They come to you to do the film. So you have to write, to advise on the script. Sometimes we have to shoot. So it's still a mess. We would like to focus, but it's still that way. So we are kind of victims of the the industry because it's still young. You know.
Now we see actors coming up every day. People decide to act, but we don't see in the video I mentioned. We don't see people writing the scripts for the movies. We don't see a lot of people getting involved in post production. What is your company doing to try and raise the people in those particular areas as well? This way, there's a balance in this business.
Well, as I used to be a teacher, I had some workshops into the editing department, sometimes into the screenwriting too. And what we do is like we welcome anybody and we try to collaborate with any company, any production house. We know we are kind of competitors in the business, but in the art we are kind of partners, big partners even. So what it does is to collaborate with other productions, to collaborate with other creative minds, to collaborate with other filmmakers mostly. So we create something good because that's what counts at the end of the day. Yeah.
So I know while walking in the streets of Kigali, in most cases, especially in town, you meet these young men or women who are selling Rwandan movies, but not so many people are always interested in buying them because they think it was produced here in Rwanda, it's probably not good, it's probably not good quality. Tell us about these movies that are produced here in Rwanda, and so that people who are watching the show will know the kind of standards that you have and some of the awards that you've been winning, both in Rwanda and also on the international scene.
Actually, since 2005, we've been seeing movies in Rwanda, and two sides were starting to become like very independent. The side of the local market, we mainly call them like low culture movies, but they're not low culture, they're just movies. And the side of international markets, where filmmakers target festivals and stuff. So my own experience is we all imitate, we all try to do things as other guys do, but we don't do things as ourselves. That's why the two sides has been kind of opposed since 2005. Now, what we want to do is to create a unique side, just one side, Rwandan movies, and try to be very original, try to be Rwandan without imitating. Sometimes even violate some laws of the movie or the cinema because of the Rwandan audience, maybe. And so far we didn't yet succeed because every time we tried, we found ourselves into the international world. As myself, for instance, I directed movies, I made some movies intending to be screened here in Rwanda and internationally. And most of the time I was falling in this trap of having the movie screened only internationally, mostly because of the business of the movies here, because there, internationally, into festivals, you can find distributors. As our films have screened in the US, in Tribeca Film Festival, in the Silicon Valley as my last feature, in South Africa, in Germany. So most of filmmakers, like the artistic world, really enjoy that international world because it's really praising them. And there's a lot of Rwandan movie on the international scene. But also when you come back here, every Monday there is a movie on the streets, every Monday. So it's a big industry also. For myself, I would like to support, to give my contribution to the local industry than to the international one, so that we have one movie industry, not two movie industries. Yeah,
that's
sure.
That's a control. Anyway, it's very helpful that you've said, and we're hoping that someone who's watching our show today has learned and is going to invest in this industry. I personally love what you guys are doing. Yes. We wish you all the best and look forward to having you again on the show.
Thank you very much.
Well, you're up to date. Sports news coming up next in just a minute with Arnold Quizera.
Welcome back to Rise and Shine Rwanda. Time now for your sports news. I'm Arnold Quizera. Starting with volleyball, the national men and women's beach volleyball teams start their campaign to qualify for the Rio 2016 Olympic Games when they compete at the sub-zonal qualifiers from March 5th to the 9th in Egypt. Rwanda is in Pool 9 alongside Eritrea, hosts and African giants Egypt, Sudan and Uganda, and the top two in the first round, which is the sub-zone, will proceed to the second round, that is the zonal competition. The top two teams will then meet the top two teams from each of the 7 zones in Africa. The winners and runners-up will represent Africa at the Rio 2016 Olympics in Brazil. Moving on to Formula One, with the year's first Grand Prix set for Melbourne, Australia, there won't be Fernando Alonso on the driver's grid after the McLaren driver withdrew following advice from doctors to recover from a concussion suffered in a pre-season test in Catalonia. Alonso will be replaced by Kevin Magnussen, who will replace Jason Button for the McLarens. Although it is believed that the driver will be fit enough for the season's first qualifying race, the two-time world champion does not want to take any risks, as a second concussion will surely dent his title chances and recovery process. The biggest Southern Hemisphere club rugby competition continues tomorrow, with two-time champions Chiefs hosting the Highlanders in the day's first fixture at the Waikato Stadium. Last year's finalists, Brumbies, will host the Western Force in the Australian Derby, hoping to bounce back after being humiliated by the Hurricanes last weekend. The Hurricanes, Crusaders and Rebels will sit out the weekend that is set to have two South African derbies that will pit the Cheetahs against the Bulls, while the Stormers will host the Sharks at Newlands. Lions are away to Blues, with both teams looking for their first win of the season. Joining me in studio is Martin Kunz, the General Secretary of the National Olympic Committee, with the latest on Rwanda's Olympic campaign. Welcome to the show, Martin.
Thank you so much.
So, Martin, let's begin. You saw, as we saw, volleyball is trying to compete to qualify for the Rio 2016 Olympics. Minus beach volleyball, which is set to take place. What do you think of their chances in getting out of the sub-zone competition to qualify for the zonal championships?
I think volleyball is really high. Beach volleyball is one of the sports that we tagged early on as having a good chance of qualifying for Rio and competing well at the Rio Games.
Looking at different sports that are going to compete at the Rio Olympics Games, which sports do you think Rwanda has a chance in when it comes to qualifying for Rio 2016?
Qualifying for Rio, the sports we're looking at most highly is volleyball, as we just mentioned, as well as athletics, which will be events, distances from the 800 meters up to the marathon. And one of the events will be new in Rwanda. That'll be the 3,000 meter steeplechase, which we're beginning to train in that beginning next month. In addition to that, we're looking at Taekwondo, has potential to qualify up to 4 players, and they're doing very, very well in the region and in their zone also. And then the other sport is cycling, of course.
Yeah, so you talked about steeplechase. Steeplechase itself not being a very old event in the Olympics. I think it has been around for the about past 4 or 5 events. Yeah, but do you think Rwanda has enough talent, and do we have enough time? Because we are about 14 months away from the Olympics, 14, 15 months away from the Olympics. Do you think Rwanda has enough time to get an athlete and put them at the caliber to compete with the Kenyans and the Ethiopians and the Ugandans, who are traditionally good steeplechase runners, even the Russians?
I think we do. Really, one of the big things I've seen in sport in Rwanda that gives me a lot of hope for Rwanda is our capacity to learn a new sport and to adapt the training methods, the higher levels, and then to be hopeful of competing well. So in a sport like steeplechase, which I raced in university, we have this, it's a new sport, but it's not something new per se. They're still running around a track.
Yep.
Now they just happen to have to jump 5 times as they're running around a track to clear the hurdle. But in doing that, it's just a matter of a slight adjustment of training and a new technique that goes with the body size of a lot of the Rwandan runners, having longer legs, etc. So we really have that opportunity to take a runner that's got the right body style and got the right capacity, and then train them for an additional event. And what that does then is that spreads out the number of events that we actually can qualify for in athletics, and gives us an additional 3 runners for men and 3 runners for women that we could actually qualify for Rio.
Okay, now qualifying for Rio, there has to be a roadmap, there has to be a plan. Now, we in the media or people out there don't know what the National Olympic Committee plan is for to qualify Rwandan participants for the Rio 2016 Olympics. Even some of these disciplines you've mentioned, what is your plan to qualify them for the Rio 2016 Olympics?
It's great that you mentioned that, because today, in fact, we did the tableau de bord, which is the dashboard for all the sports. And one of the biggest things we're trying to do that'll be a big change for this Rio qualification process is we're really trying to work hand in hand with the federations. We've got to build trust. We can't just pick and choose and do things in a non-professional way. We have to respect those federations, their autonomy, and to assist them, to motivate them, to empower and equip them to operate well, to train their athletes well, and to ultimately perform well on the big stage. So what we've done is we've offered to them the process that they need to undertake, which is selection of athletes plan, training plans, competition plan calendar, as well as budgets. So you can compile all that information together in the larger plan of how Rio participation is going to be assessed or established for the Rwanda National Olympic Committee. And if you come by the office sometime, I'd be glad to share that plan with you personally. But in reality, it's just so detailed, because just like you mentioned for beach volleyball, simple sport, 2 players on each team, but that process of qualifying for beach volleyball is very entailed. And a lot of times as well, the African federations don't share the schedules very quickly, or they adjust the schedules or change the schedules for the qualifying process. So like beach volleyball is competing now, and then they'll compete again maybe in June. We don't know for sure yet. Okay. And then they'll compete again in the larger qualification tournament for all of Africa in probably sometime around November or December. And so with those kind of dates coming from the African Volleyball Federation, it's really challenging for us then to push the Volleyball Federation of Rwanda to have super detailed plans. But one of the things we're trying to do, and this is really important to note, is that for all these federations, is to keep the athletes training and competing continually throughout the process. So I was really excited to see that football, which is also one of the sports we're trying to qualify for Rio, is competing against South Africa soon in a friendly. Yeah, and that'll be a great preparation for their competition then against Somalia in April. And just like that, we don't know exact dates after that when they'll play Uganda. We don't know the exact dates after that when they would play Egypt if they defeat both Somalia and Uganda. But I love the tie-in with what's happening also with the club championships. Because just last weekend, APR and Rwanda were able to defeat teams from Cameroon as well as Mozambique. And now both of them in 2 weeks are going to face teams from Egypt. So what a great look we'll have at what Egypt's capacity right now is in football also, by them competing against those teams.
Okay, one last thing, interesting thing that you talked about somewhere in there was the budget, the budget constraints. Most of these federations are not able to foot their own budgets. What's the plan? What advice are you giving them?
What we'll do is we've been really blessed in the Olympic Committee to have employees like Serge Mwambali, who is our programs director. Now what Serge did in January and back in December was he planned for 2 grants that come from the IOC. And one of those grants is a continental grant. And that continental grant is going to assist some of our showcase events this year, which would be like the Peace Cup, the marathon, the Peace Marathon in May, the Gorilla Open Taekwondo Championships this weekend, events like that, and the Tour of Rwanda. Now some of those events will allow then the Olympic Committee to insert itself in a financial way with revenue to assist those federations to offset some of their cost of paying for those events, and then they can sequester those funds then to pay for other events they would need to prepare for qualifying. As well, there's another one that we just applied for also that actually includes preparations for these Rio qualifying events, and it also includes preparations for All Africa Games, which All Africa Games is a very, very important step.
Especially for the likes of
all,
archery that we've had on the show like yesterday.
Exactly.
Thank you very much, Martin.
I'm so glad I came.
Okay, hope we're going to be having you here for these Olympics updates.
I'll be here as often as you want.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Arnold.
Martin. Yeah. Makeda and Regis will be right back with the latest news headlines.
Wanna have a house like this? Come to the Rwanda Property Forum the 5th, 6th, and 7th of March this Thursday, Friday, and Saturday at Lemigo Hotel. Come learn about selling, buying, and building houses. You do not want to miss this. Friday and Saturday, we're offering educational sessions so you can learn how to get involved in this profitable industry. Learn about buying, building, and selling real estate in Rwanda. This event is free and sponsored by these great companies. Come join us this weekend.
Welcome back to Rise and Shine Rwanda. Let's take a look now at news-making headlines here in Rwanda and around the world.
A €1 million three-year project has been launched with the objective of boosting vocational training in the construction sector. The project, implemented by the German Chamber of Skilled Craft Koblenz in partnership with the Workforce Development Authority, is expected to train Rwandan teachers in masonry, tiling, and painting. It will be conducted in collaboration with the Integrated Polytechnic Regional Center to provide teachers with the modern technical skills needed in the labor market.
Members of Parliament are insisting that prison inmates who are contracted for work should be paid on time. The call was made during a tour of the Gasabo prison in Kimirongo as part of a follow-up on the implementation of the recommendations made by the National Human Rights Commission. According to the Commission's report released last year, inmates had not received their wages since 2011.
Women police officers have been given the challenge of maintaining discipline and unwavering service, all while being ambassadors of empowerment and gender equality. The challenge was given during the 6th Police Women Convention in Kigali under the theme Enhancing Women Participation for Gender Equality. The Minister for Internal Security, the Honorable Sheikh Musa Fazil Harimana, presided over the event over 700 female officers. The Rwanda National Police Force is made up of 20% female officers, and Rwanda was the first country to deploy an all-female contingent in peacekeeping.
Kenyan President Uhuru Kenyatta has destroyed 15 tons of elephant ivory in an effort to curb poaching. Elephant ivory is often smuggled to Asia for use in ornaments. With a black market value of $30 million, ivory is the largest consignment to be destroyed in Kenya. President Kenyatta said, quote, "Many of these tusks belong to elephants which were mercilessly slaughtered by criminals." Conservationists have warned that elephants could be completely wiped out in some parts of Africa in the next few years. The Kenyan president promised that the government would destroy the country's entire stockpile of ivory by the end of this year.
A Somali American on the FBI's most wanted terrorist list has been captured. Liban Haji Mohammed was arrested as he traveled from an area controlled by terrorist group Al-Shabaab in southern Somalia. The one-time cab driver in Northern Virginia is being held and interrogated by Somali officials. Somalia's National Intelligence and Security Agency did not say when he was captured, but say the suspect had been under surveillance for several days. Mohammed was born in Somalia, but is a naturalized U.S. citizen, and according to the FBI, the 29-year-old left the United States in July 2012 to join Al-Qaeda in Somalia.
Okay, lots more still to come. The weekly movie review is next. Plus, we take a look at what's hot right now in our daily debate section, Hot Topics. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Rise and Shine Rwanda. It's time now for the weekly movie review where we give you the lowdown on the new releases of the week, and of course we offer up one of our favorite cult classics. So let's just get straight into it. We have a new movie coming out here in Rwanda. Actually, let's take a look at the trailer.
I brought you into this world. A machine that can think and feel.
That's it. Come. Come here, little buddy.
That's a watch. That's a watch.
What?
It's like a child. It has to learn.
Your name? Chappie.
Anything you want to do in your life, you can do. Write poetry, have original ideas.
Wow.
People are always fearful of something they don't understand.
The problem with artificial intelligence is it's way too unpredictable.
You know what's a black sheep?
No.
It's like when you're different to everyone else.
Chappie is going to be coming out in theaters tomorrow. If you guys are into, I don't know, sci-fi-ish
It's very,
type of
it's
movie.
very Steven Spielberg, Will Smithy kind of.
I suppose so, but yeah, I mean, it's very heartwarming. It's something for the whole family, as you can see.
At least finally some actor I know of some sorts. So. He was in the newsroom, right?
And also in Slumdog Millionaire.
Yes, right. Slumdog Millionaire.
So we have some star power in this movie, and it's something nice to bring the kids to, I suppose.
Yeah.
And, you know, maybe a little glimpse into what our future might be like.
I personally love movies like this. You know, anything Transformers, machines.
You're into that?
I didn't read you
It's
as that
crazy.
type.
Wow. Okay.
That and zombie movies and vampire
Nice.
movies and
The list
Fidelis.
goes on to shock us.
I thought we were together.
horror movies.
That's way to surprise me there.
For real, like I love them, so I can't wait to watch this.
So wait, who loves movies like I do? Arnold?
I love
you?
movies.
Love movies.
Love movies.
I mean, like romantic movies. Not
Yes, Regis loves romantic movies.
I
I'm sure Regis loves.
I have street credibility to protect here.
there's some love in this movie, so I'll definitely be going to see it, I think. Anyways, let's move on to the weekly cult classic, the good part.
This one.
So this one, it's actually been chosen because, you know, we're leading up to Women's Day. It's coming up on the 8th of the month.
Right.
So, you know, we decided to kind of go in theme and pick this one.
I wonder which one you guys picked.
You know what? Let's just play the trailer.
4 friends determined to face reality.
The one man I love is married and got a kid.
You tell my baby girl that her daddy loves her. To find the perfect love.
Michael is not pretty, but he's available. You get the best loving in the world when a man is begging.
To take control of their lives. I'm leaving you for her.
You wait a minute. I give you 11 years of my life and you're telling me you're leaving me for another woman.
And to make dreams come true.
Would you like to have dinner with us tonight? It's just leftovers. Collard greens and cornbread, some candied yams, a little potato salad, fried chicken, peach cobbler, 2 slices of ham. I have no business eating it myself, big as I am.
I like that. I like a woman with a little meat on her bones, you know?
Ooh!
But I have to admit, I haven't seen anything as splendid as you since I've been here. Okay, hold on now. Hold on.
Shoot. I don't know if you guys remember that song.
That's a classic. That's
Really good
star
one.
power. This movie has a lot of
Definitely.
great
So the
actors.
stars of this movie are 4 of some of the biggest black actresses actually in Hollywood. There was Angela Bassett, Whitney Houston, rest in peace, Lela Rochon, and Loretta Devine. But as you guys also saw, there was people like
Wesley
Snipes in it.
And who I called Mr. President in 24, David Palmer.
Oh,
I don't even know what his real name is. I just call him president.
Crazy.
Right.
It's
But
just,
yeah, this
I
one-
love it because it has like such a
Isaiah
combination of like
Washington.
strong actresses, you know, strong female black actresses in Hollywood,
Angela
and it's
Bassett
like really
is
good.
probably the black Meryl Streep.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people definitely like her a lot.
What did you think there, Arnold? Arnold is like, what is he
You know,
talking about?
I asked Arnold if he had watched this movie earlier,
Yeah.
and he said, "Oh yeah, you know what? I may have seen it before, but I don't know."
May have seen it?
I don't know.
That's
I
an
think-
option?
Yeah, because it's not my. It doesn't fall in my types of movies.
So,
First of all,
for people who don't know, the movie is actually about a group of 4 friends, and they are kind of, it's just their story going through the trials and tribulations of being in relationships or getting out of relationships or trying to find a relationship. It's just their love stories, and you see their respective, you know, situations. And it was a big movie, and the soundtrack was huge.
It's a huge, right?
yeah, back in the days when people used to still buy soundtracks, no one listens to soundtracks
Yeah,
nowadays.
well, you know, but definitely a great movie. I know a lot of people remember it. I remember it, and if you guys want to see,
You
a
said
movie,
you're a romantic, so you have to remember it.
oh yes, I'm a romantic. Anything romantic, I love it. So yeah, if you
I'll
guys
take
are
you for a
looking
horror
for,
movie, Makeda.
well, to some people it is a horror movie.
If
I
you want
think
to
it's
make
tough.
Makeda happy, she's a romantic. Flowers and chocolates do people. Flowers
So easy. So simple. I mean, really. So anyway, that was the cult classic of the week. If you're looking for something to watch, you know, just at home or a little old school vibe, you can definitely watch that one. Now, before we go on to Hot Topics, I think I need to give out some free movie tickets, right? Yeah. So for this week, all you have to do is tell us who directed Waiting to Exhale. Is it A, Forrest Whitaker, B, Tyler Perry, or C, Spike Lee? Email, tweet, or Facebook us the answer, and the first person to respond will win 2 movie tickets. Again, the question is, who directed our This Week cult classic, Waiting to Exhale? Is it A, Forrest Whitaker, B, Tyler Perry, or C, Spike Lee? Don't go anywhere. Hot Topics is up next. Welcome back, and it's that Hot Topics time again. As always, the Rise and Shine Rwanda team have been out and about, gathering everything you need to know about what's happening here and abroad, from what's trending on Twitter to the debates in your local cafe. We've got it all for you right here, right now. Now, the first thing that we wanted to talk about was media insensitivity, I should say. I was going to say media sensitivity, but now, there have been some incidents, and the most recent was a car accident that happened. And in newspapers and online, people have just been posting pictures of bodies or of wreckage, and people have been really offended by it. It's been all over Twitter, all over Facebook. People are saying you have no right to post photos of dead bodies or of, you know, bloody places. So what do you guys think about this? Do you think that the media has a responsibility to be a bit more sensitive about it, or do you think that everything should just be out there and free for people to see?
I don't think. I think they need to be sensitive. I mean, these are people who belong to families, and imagine this is your family, it's your brother, it's your husband, and then you see a picture like that on the media. It's really offensive. I think it's their duty to report what happened, but they have to be really cautious on the kind of images and pictures that they use. It's really hurtful. And personally, for me, I think I'd even sue if I found a picture of like someone who is a friend of mine or family that, you know, was used in that way. It's just, I don't approve.
It makes sense. I mean, it's just you don't want to do to others what you don't want done to you, right? So this should be some type of sensitivity. I'm not saying don't show pictures of accidents, but just don't show the graphic ones. Because I remember it was during this week when we lost our beloved Gigi, the basketball players, where Arnold had to say before we showed the image, you know, viewer discretion is advised. We should never have to do that. So,
right.
You know,
One,
I know you have something to
Fidelis
say.
would lose that case if she sued. That's one.
As someone who actually does, you work also writing for newspapers.
Yeah, I think because like the images we did run on the show were just the bus wreckages. I had gotten access to images of the bodies, and you can't run that. I feel it's a little bit insensitive. But then we are in an era whereby it's so hard for mainstream outlets to survive. And what are they resorting to? Because the citizen journalist is beating them to these things. You know, you are on Twitter and something breaks before, you know, by the time
has a chance to.
Exactly.
Right.
So how, if people are tweeting these things out, how do I beat the competition? I think it's something that editors are faced with. So when they may be forced to put out these images out there, there is no law stopping them from doing so. At times you feel some images people reacted to are too sensitive. People are being too sensitive about some images. Because when I look at what has really made, I saw this debate among some colleagues of ours who also work here at RTV, and we had this debate about the other night on Twitter about the images of Jean-Guy Rutaisire that were being used and being passed around. If it's being passed from your WhatsApp phone to another WhatsApp phone, I think that's a little different, personal, but displaying it on a website, it shouldn't.
Or in any publication, because if I decide to take a photo that's graphic and I decide to tweet it, then it's my responsibility and it's on me. But if you do it for a publication, then that's an entire...
Then it's a whole new thing, exactly.
Exactly. Because you have the power to.
Yeah, and I think that's where the journalists, we as journalists need to be different and be professionals and draw the lines. With the images that journalists were using for the Jean-Guy Rutaisire, most of them were using the accident. So for that incident, I felt people just being too sensitive about it. A certain class of people that they're just being, to me, they're just being too sensitive, because if it's a bus wreckage, we've had so many accidents.
I disagree with you. I don't think you can say that people are being too sensitive, because you don't know the emotions that they're having at that particular moment. You can't tell someone how to feel about losing a loved one.
But that's what makes us different as journalists, and we are supposed to report the news.
Exactly.
Because even though the news happened about my mother, and it's supposed to be reported, and she was in a bus wreckage, the bus wreckage has to be reported, and those images will be shown.
Exactly.
The only problem I will have is if you show the faces of the body.
Exactly, and that's why I was telling you.
But that's not
you
what
have the
happened for
duty to
Jean-Guy
report
Rutaisire.
what happened. It's what pictures you use that matter. If
What's
you use
graphic and
exactly, it's what it comes down to.
Yeah, but that's why I'm saying people were too sensitive, because what brought up this debate is what was trending on Twitter was people were talking about the bus wreckage, so the Fuso truck knocking the bus and then the bus falling into the valley and into the forest. Those images, to me, they are okay.
Those were not graphic.
Those are not graphic, and that's what people are complaining about.
Publication,
So I think we can all agree that there are some photos that are a bit too graphic to be published, and some photos that are okay to show what happened. I mean, it is also.
And like you say, people should remember to do unto others what they want to be done unto them. If you want a picture like that of your loved one and you wouldn't mind it to be being on air everywhere, then you should not do the same with other people's pictures.
I don't know if the same rules apply to some journalists, though.
But anyway, it just comes down to that.
It's about you have to do your job.
At the end of the day, you have to do your job. Okay, so there was another hot topic that a lot of people have been talking about. There was a restaurant here in Kigali in which a manager was caught abusing a worker, physically and verbally. And I think many of us may have been seeing this, where bosses kind of verbally abuse workers. I don't know about physically, but now it has kind of crossed the line and people are outraged about it. Tell me, what are you guys' opinion? I mean, obviously it's terrible for that to happen,
I have a very good experience with this.
But workers, they end up staying. So what's your
my personal experience was that one of Indian cuisine restaurants in town. I'd just gotten back home then, and then I tipped a waitress with 2,000 Rwandan francs. It was my change, and I was like, it's okay. And then she put it in her pocket. So she moves about 10 meters, and the manager, who happened to be Indian, goes and picks the money from her and even shouts at her. So what I did was to go and pick the money from the manager, and I never went back to that restaurant. It's absurd, and it happens so regularly, but I think this comes from our workers' associations doing their jobs to educate these workers about their rights. Because we have a workers' MP in Parliament. what are they doing? Why don't they train people about it? People should know their rights. Most Rwandans, I don't feel, working in these restaurants know their rights.
And I feel like it's not just restaurants, even at homes, in our homes, people do this. You come from work and then you shout at your house help, and then after that go to your room. This is the same person who's cooking your food, who's watching your kids. You have to think about that.
Exactly.
Because,
there's a whole mentality of how people talk down on people who are supposed to be doing jobs that are not as important as what other people are doing.
But I think it's important for everyone to know, especially these restaurant managers or owners, that you cannot run your restaurant without these people. So I think, with that and with service, customer service efforts really starting to build up in the country.
I've seen the way people talk to cab drivers. It's scary.
May I tell you, because I have a personal experience, and it actually happened in our neighborhood. And the lady was one of those ladies who comes back from work and just shouts at the house help. And I'm not even joking. The house help was caught putting rat poison in her food. She would have never known. She'd have eaten the food and died or gotten really.
It's just you have to be really cautious. Treat
just
people
don't
right. Treat people, like you said earlier, treat people the way they would like to be
boycott
treated.
those restaurants. Period.
Okay, well, don't forget, we love to hear your thoughts, comments, and feedback on what we're talking about here as well on Rise and Shine Rwanda. Tweet us at Rise and Shine RW. We are always looking out for you. Like us on Facebook and send ideas for programs, or tag us in photos or comment. Check out our Rise and Shine Rwanda YouTube page, where you can catch all the shows and reports that we upload daily. Find us on Instagram, Rise and Shine Rwanda, and of course follow us. And check out our Rise and Shine Rwanda website.
Well, that's all the time we have for today. We'd love to hear your feedback, and do let us know if you have an idea for the program. You've been watching Rise and Shine Rwanda with me, Regis Isheja.
And me, Makeda Mahadio. Please do come back and join us same time, same place tomorrow. But for now, from the two of us and the rest of the Rise and Shine team, or the beautiful people as he likes to call them, have a great rest of your day.
Bye-bye.
Bye.